You have the have and have nots. It's just amazing to me that that we're still arguing over this, that we still have these concerns, that we're still dealing with this. At the end of the day, uh, you know, uh, you know, I, you know, I am so pissed right now at all of these people coming across the border, seeking
100,000 since January 1st.
seeking citizenship, taking jobs from Americans, defrauding our system, breaking
Mm-hmm.
our laws, because it is illegal to come across the border and assume an ID or to work in this country without permission to work in this country. It's illegal. It's against the law. And those laws need to be enforced. But these Democrats selectively enforce laws. But this is what I say about that, Dan. And hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
Hear me out and hear me clearly. America is finally getting what the black community has gotten since 1960, and that's selective enforcement of the law, selective enforcement of opportunities, selectivism. They allowed the gangs to run rampant in our country, in our communities. They allowed drugs to run rampant in our communities. They allowed you never drove in white neighborhoods and saw congregations of men on corners. They allowed that in
Mm-hmm.
black neighborhoods. Okay. And we allow, and black people have allowed this ghettoism. So if you tried to go out and break these people up and tell them they couldn't gather in front of your house, the police would tell the property owner or me or my parents that they were wrong. You shoot a criminal and you're wrong. You protect yourself against a criminal. America is finally getting what the black community has been getting all of my lifetime. I've seen this craziness go on, where the
Mm-hmm.
criminal and lawlessness was accepted and rewarded, whereas the common sense, law abiding person picking themselves out of poverty was criticized, was belittled, and was punished. True statement.
Mm-hmm.
Between 1940 and 1960, half of blacks lifted themselves up out of poverty. That was before any major civil rights legislation. How about that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I, I, I,
You know,
I,
we
I,
we got civil rights
I,
legislation. We started getting backlash, but this is what America should have done without black people having a protest or a civil rights march or a civil rights movement. It separate and unequal was against the law. These white
mm-hmm.
people knew it. They knew that Jim Crow was illegal. They should have suppressed the the Southern Democrats, but they didn't. White people didn't do it. Why? Because it was politically expedient. It was politically expedient to them getting rich. People got rich off of Lyndon Baines Johnson and his escalation of the Vietnam War. That's why they had to move Kennedy. They had to kill Kennedy because Kennedy said, I'm not going to Vietnam. Kennedy had written a paper while he had studied before he came to the Senate. He said, that's a civil war. I'm not engaging in a civil war. Johnson created the Tonkin Gulf incident, which was the
Mm-hmm.
only time in history, in the history of the war, that the Vietnamese supposedly ever attacked the U.S. Navy. That Tonkin Gulf incident. That was just that one incident that led to the
Mm-hmm.
escalation of millions of Americans going to Vietnam and 58,000 that we count being killed. Johnson should have died.
Okay.
But this is the kind of craziness. This is the kind of political expedience, because America was not living up to her creed, allowing legal segregation to exist, allowing Jim Crow to exist. Black people should never have had to march in the streets or have a Montgomery boycott or ask for a civil rights law to be passed. We have something called the Constitution of the United States, and it needed to be enforced. Period.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I agree. And I have this friend who is a black man that is a radio talk show host in Chicago, and he told me one time that black people to white people just leave us the hell alone.
Leave us alone. Like I said before, between 1940, these are unrefuted numbers. Between 1940 and 1960, almost half of Black America picked itself up out of poverty. That was
Mm-hmm.
before affirmative action. And I'm not saying that affirmative action wasn't right, because I witnessed legal discrimination. I witnessed and
Mm-hmm.
participated and was a victim of apartheid in this country. And at the end of the day, that should have been eliminated by the federal government. The federal government allowed the South to run rampant and to abuse Black people. That lies squarely on the shoulders of the federal government. Now, let me give credit where credit is due. General Dwight David Eisenhower, when he came into office, his Attorney General Browning, he led major federal attacks on legalized segregation. He led major attacks on the South, and he should have. As I say before, the Confederacy, they were no heroes. They were traitors to the Union. But they portrayed that I'm a patriotic. I love America. No, you didn't love the United States of America, you asshole, you lying asshole. You were a traitor. Jesse James was a rebel. He was a traitor. He was a Confederate. How could he be a hero? He was no Robin Hood. He didn't give for the rich and rob from the rich and give to the poor. No more than these street gangs do here in Chicago. But they're held on. They're given government contracts and treated as legitimate business people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just thinking that they're talking about Andrew Yang's proposal.
What's that proposal?
I'm gonna tell you. You don't remember after I tell you.
Yeah, speed it up.
When he was well, if you wouldn't interrupt, I could get back.
Speed it up.
So he proposed that we pay everybody a minimum of $1,000 a month.
Okay.
And there was no guarantee or no requirement to work.
Okay.
And I've been talking to some people down here in Florida where I live. And about their businesses being open. And the people who bought our other house, I happened to run into them last weekend, and they said they are up in Massachusetts or Maine, excuse me. And the state government said we can open up, except we can't get anybody to come back to work, because with the unemployment plus the extra $300 a week, they're making more money not working than if they had a full-time job. And so the question becomes, if Black people and white people and brown people and red people are going to continue to get paid to the government not to work, can the government ever stop that? Or is it forever ingrained, and have they basically created a new slave culture in the United States?
Well, I think that people who need help should be helped. And those who don't need help, they just don't need help. And see, there is, and when you go down a slippery slope. It's like with reparations. You go down a slippery slope when you start talking reparations for injustices that don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Like I should, when I got out of the military, I didn't get hired as an airline pilot. I didn't get hired largely because I'm Black. That's just a fact. We had a big lawsuit. No Blacks were getting hired by airlines. When young white men were getting hired with 250 hours in a Cessna, and white women were getting hired with 250 hours in a Cessna, Black men who were military pilots were being denied. So these are incidents of that cost people livelihoods, cost people hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's clear that Biden, as we started this discussion, where you talked about how angry you were about the illegals coming across the border, Joe Biden's responsible for that.
No
Joe
question.
Biden opened it up.
No question.
And he's at the expense of minorities and legal citizens and minorities in the United States.
No question.
And yet we hear Charles Butler talking about it, but we don't hear any Black leaders talking about
because they need. Remember, they make a business out of out of grievances. They make a business out of it. If there are no grievances, they're out of business. Black Lives Matter raised $90 million, and they didn't distribute a dime to local black causes or local black organizations.
Mm-hmm. True. So it doesn't look like we're doing much to help the black people and the minorities progress again.
Well, what we need to do is to have people just get out of the way and leave us alone and stop recognizing so-called black leaders. I didn't elect Reverend Sharpton to speak for me, Al Sharpton to speak for me. In fact, he doesn't speak for me. He doesn't speak for me at all because he's very unintelligent. Okay. All he can talk about is race. The man is an idiot. Okay. And he doesn't talk about that in a factual way. Jesse Jackson, the same way. They have made an industry out of black grievances. And it's unconscionable that these white people have gone to this handful of black people to address the needs of all black. Martin Luther King didn't speak for me. Martin Luther King didn't speak for all black people. But white people made him the spokesman for. I don't care about Martin Luther King. I'm not a peaceful man. You hit me, I'm going to tear your ass up. And then we can talk about why you hit me. I'm not into that Jesus come to meet and crap. God said, I believe in Luke 22, when Jesus told his disciples, buy you a sword after the Romans take me, buy you a sword and sell your cloak and buy two. That's my kind of Jesus. Not turn the other cheek, the cowardly BS.
Yep. I agree. So I see in a matter of less than 2 months, Joe Biden has come in, not only disrupted what Donald Trump has done, but it dawned on me last night as I was laying in bed thinking about a commentary I want to write. He wants to go back to his normal.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's where he's taking the country. He's taking the country back to high taxes. Nancy Pelosi said today, well, yes, we're going to have to tax people. Who are they going to tax? They're going to tax people who get a W-2. They're not going to tax a person who gets a 1099. They're not going to tax people who get, we're going to raise the capital gains tax to 25%. Well, there's no capital gains tax if I don't sell any stocks. Hello.
Right.
So I just put my portfolio on hold until we get somebody in who lowers the taxes again.
Right. But they're thinking about the asset tax based on everything you own, stocks, real estate, cars.
I would move. I'm serious. I'd move. They'd have to take me to court. They'd have to take me to court. And I think the courts would be so jam-packed with Americans complaining about that's why they need the National Guard in Washington, D.C. Because the American people will be so upset, they will go in there and pull those assholes out and drag them in the streets. Democrats and Republicans alike, they're all in this together.
That I agree with.
I mean, Kevin McCarthy says, well, we just couldn't stop them from spending, on 10% of the bill was on COVID-19 and 90% was pork. We just couldn't stop them. Well, asshole, you live in California. California is benefiting from this 10 or $12 billion they're getting as a bailout. You're not, he tries to talk out both sides of his mouth. When I see Kevin McCarthy, I just want to punch him in the nose, man. He's such a wuss.
Well, that's almost a good description for a lot of Republicans, and he has yet to call
Joe Biden a liar. Joe Biden came on TV last week and lied his ass off. Kevin McCarthy said, "Well, I disagree with what he said was disagreeable." He should have called him a liar, just like they called President Trump a liar. Everybody and his brother blatantly said about President, he's lying. The president's lying. The president's a liar. I'd never heard a president referred to that way in my life. Never. Go ahead.
Yep, that's true. So they're now talking about a new stimulus bill, which is going to be based on infrastructure rebuild. and probably the largest appropriation bill ever attempted to pass in the United States. And Nancy Pelosi is saying, for the first time, she says this morning or last night, well, we know we have to start paying for some of this stuff. So we're going to have to raise taxes. And they don't understand that they want to whittle away a lot of the Trump tax deductions that were set up in the tax reform that created millions of new jobs. But that's when it dawned on me when I heard what she said, they were going to have to start paying for it, that they basically don't want to have a situation where they give up control. They want more and more control, and more of these things they're doing.
What do you mean? How do they get control? How do they get control?
The Democrats or the politicians?
The politicians. Who? How do they get control? You said it, not me. How do they get control? Yeah. They who?
The politicians that are passing stimulus, $1.9 trillion stimulus bills when we still got $1 trillion in the bank we haven't allocated. And they're trying to convince people that this is for COVID relief when in fact it's not for COVID relief. It's basically 90% or more pork. And we're not doing anything that's going to be productive. And now we've got to have a infrastructure jobs bill so we can put people back to work. I guess we're going to have to pay them even more than we're paying them not to work. And when you think about it, you get an extra $300 a week in unemployment benefits. That's over $14,000 a year of extra income in unemployment benefits, plus the base unemployment. So the incentive for people to want to go out and work is greatly diminished by the fact that the government is giving away money for free. And that's what I'm talking about. They're in control. By controlling the purse strings, your purse strings, how much money you have, how much the government is willing to give you. They talked about this bill being historic. Well, the CARES Act was more money, over $2 billion. Why wasn't it historic? Is it because it was passed under Donald Trump? And you look at the junk that's in this bill. What I'm angry at is that what we got, whatever concessions we got on the tunnel in California or some other things were peanuts. The Democrats basically got what they wanted. They had to give up.
Well, like I said, these Republicans are pathetic, and Kevin McCarthy is pathetic. I want to see someone rise in the party like a Donald Trump, like a Colonel West. But Colonel West was too rough around the edges. He didn't really understand the game, and a lot of his thinking was wrapped in Cold War military jargon and education, and it didn't resonate well with the American people. Mm-hmm. But his temperament and his heart were in the right place. So I just like to say that we need to understand where we're going with this, with reparations. We need to stand where we're going with unemployment and extra unemployment benefits, because what are extra unemployment benefits but reparations? They're talking about government employees getting a $25,000 bonus for what? For what?
Showing up.
They didn't lose a damn paycheck during this COVID. They didn't lose one damn paycheck. Right. The city employees didn't lose a paycheck. The state employees didn't lose a paycheck. And then we're going to give them a bonus, and they let this actually go through. They're checks and balances. And the checks and balances are not working because the politicians in the Senate and in the House are bought off. And you look at the Supreme Court, and you have people who are legislating from the bench instead of creating law and interpreting law. They're trying to make their own law. Hey, Dan, I just want to mention this before I get off the air. It is snowing like crazy outside, dude. It's not funny. It's not funny.
Sure it is.
No, it's not. And just for that, I'm going to break.
Hello,
okay.
This is Dan Perkins from
I just went to break on you, dude.
And I'm here to talk to you about how you can take responsibility for your own health. CV Science products that can help you empower yourself against the COVID-19 virus are CV Acute and CV Defense. The Acute product is taken at an early onset of feelings of discomfort and works over 3 days to assist your immune system to fight off the virus. The second product is CV Defense, which is taken daily, and it helps to optimize the power of your immune system to fight off this virus. Recently on my program, I had an interview with Dr. Michael Lewis, who's been in public health for decades. I asked him about personal responsibility, and he said,
"You are responsible for your own health. Don't count on the government to provide you with a magic pill or a magic shot for your health. That is your personal responsibility."
If you want to empower yourself and take control of your health care, go to empoweryourself.info. That's empoweryourself.info and take care of your health care.
Hi, this is Charles Butler, the host of the radio show, The Reality Check with Charles Butler. At Asset Benefits, we provide our clients with the rates and benefits from over 20 top-rated life insurance companies. We make you informed decision makers about final expense, mortgage protection, and securing your family's financial stability with the loss of a loved one. Hey, don't wait. Pick up the phone and call 312-667-9111 for your free quote and evaluation. All right, folks, we are back. We are back. We have Mr. Dan Perkins with us. We're going to roll right along. We're going to end the show here. I got about 10 minutes. Hey, man, here in Chicago, we just had a guy who was shot. We had a police sergeant who was shot in the chin. A police sergeant at a police station, dude. Can you believe that?
Did they get the shooter?
No, I don't think so. Not yet. Not yet, but I think 38 people were shot here in Chicago this weekend. And it's not even summer.
How many?
It's not even summer, dude.
Right.
It's not even the summer.
Did you see where the Portland mayor has asked for a reappropriation to hire more police?
Well, I'm sure Portland, Seattle, Minneapolis, Minneapolis just did the same thing. And these were people who had reduced or defunded their police force.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Bill de Blasio, the mayor of New York City, has decided that Governor Cuomo should resign.
Yeah.
So because he wants to run for governorship.
Well, he's not going to run for. He may run for governor, but he's toast. His political career is over, dude. His political career is over. I don't know who. I don't know. I remember when he jumped in the Democrat race. He wasn't in the race more than 2 weeks before I guess somebody told him, "Hey, dude, you don't have a snowball's chance in a microwave."
What is interesting to me, though, is that, and I'm going to write a piece on this. Do you remember probably 2 years ago when Ralph Northern, governor of Virginia, was accused of blackface?
Yep.
And there was a huge outcry for him to resign.
Yep.
And then his attorney general did the same thing. Neither one of them left.
Right.
And I think that Cuomo is looking at what Northern said and said, "Hey, screw these guys. They can complain all they want, but I'm not going to resign my position as governor on innuendo without due process."
Right.
And it's interesting to see that the leadership of the Democratic Party is really, really struggling with, including the president and the first lady, the first lady vice president, are struggling with what to say about what's going on with Cuomo. I think Cuomo is basically going to stick it out, and he's going to force the legislature to do an impeachment trial and a hearing and everything else, and he ain't leaving until they throw him out of the office because he's been convicted under due process.
Well, that's fine, but at the end of the day, the guy's toast, man.
Well, he doesn't have a future in the Democratic Party. I'm not sure he ever did because of his stupidity and his arrogance. And the sex thing is basically a cover-up and a distraction for the 15,000 people that he murdered by putting them back in nursing homes.
Well, people hadn't forgotten about that.
Well, again, I realize you have to be careful about when you're dealing with people and polls. But apparently the people in New York who've been polled think the sexual misconduct is more important than the death of.
No,
I agree with you. I think it's stupid.
No, I don't think that people have forgotten about the deaths at all. I think they're appalled by both. The sexual thing, I don't think people think that's a big thing as much as the deaths. I think that the media is trying to distract, and the media is trying to get people to focus on the women. But the Joe Blow sitting at home, he's like, "Hey, dude, you killed 15,000 people. That's what I'm focused on."
Yep. But what's interesting about that is, as long as they've known that he did this, and as long as we've known that he fudged the numbers on the number of people that died, have you seen any lawsuits?
No,
I haven't seen it either. So the operation is going to be the operative thing to watch for your listeners, is to see if they indict him, what do they indict him for? Do they indict him for the sex situation, or do they indict him on the death? If they indict him on the sex situation, he's going to finish out his term no matter what. If they let the deaths go by, and there are going to be a lot of people who will be outraged at that kind of a situation.
Yeah,
that they'll focus more on the sex than on the death.
Yeah, well, I think you're right, but I think the people want to focus on the deaths, and they could care less about. I mean, they know that these guys are. You look at Joe Biden. Remember, I made this point the other day. Ash Carter was getting sworn in, and Joe Biden was standing behind his wife, up on his wife, with his hands on her shoulders, smelling her hair.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how come that didn't surface, and how come they didn't use that during the campaign? Donald Trump, the guys who ran Donald Trump's campaign, need to be taken out and spanked. They threw that campaign away.
I agree.
They talked about all Donald Trump came out. Oh, Sleepy Joe. Oh, hey, screw old Sleepy Joe. What he should have been talking about is I stopped the caravans from coming to the border. He never talked about that. I stopped the caravans from coming to the border. We're building walls. We're keeping people out. Our policies work. We're people are working. When we get through with this pandemic, we'll be through with the pandemic and the vaccines by May, and I'll put this country back on track. We'll have more jobs than we have. He didn't say any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And he kept Fauci on board. He should have suppressed Fauci. He should have exposed that Fauci gave the Chinese in Wuhan the virus and $3 million. He should have exposed that with his dumb ass. He's dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And he listened to Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner is a damn Democrat.
Okay.
Ivanka's a damn Democrat.
Okay. Well, I won't go there. I'll let that pass.
Well, that's what you can let it pass, but it is true. That's what they are.
No, I said what I was thinking about saying. I'm not going to say it. I'll let it pass because I don't want even another uproar. But let me go back to Dr. Fauci. Did you see him yesterday on Chris Wallace's show?
No, I don't watch Chris Wallace, and I certainly don't watch Fauci. So what happened?
Fauci said that he believes that when he saw the data that 50% of male Republicans have indicated that they're not going to get the vaccine.
57, actually.
50% anyway. He said 50%. That that Donald Trump should step up for the country and tell his Republican males they need to get vaccinated.
Not going to happen. 57% of Republicans say they're not taking that shit. I'm one of them. I'm one of them.
Well, you were going to get it. You had a back door and you were going to do it. So you changed your mind?
Oh, yeah, I changed my mind. A friend of mine, okay. the lady who set it up, she died.
Whoa.
Yep.
Whoops.
Yep. The lady who set it up, she died. Perfect health, beautiful lady. She died, man. And it just broke my heart because she got a lot of people vaccinated.
Ooh.
And I called and told her, I said, hey, I'm not going to do it. Give my slot to somebody else.
Well, that's unfortunate. Do we know whether it was because of COVID or not?
I don't think so. Hey, look, folks out there at my people out there at Red State Talk Radio, we're getting ready to sign off. I'm not gonna go to break or anything. So thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. We got about 20 seconds before Red State kicks us off. So you can join us over at YouTube. Or YouTube or Facebook or Twitter. So you can join us live there. We'll be there for a few minutes talking to Dan Perkins. Go ahead, Dan.
So what I was saying is Biden was the one who said yesterday or last Thursday that some of the things he said just made no sense to me. We're going to make sure that every person over the age of 18 is qualified to get the vaccine as of May 1st. And that everybody will have an opportunity to start getting their shots by the end of May, which would put us in a position to be able to have a cookout for the 4th of July. Where was he going with that? I mean,
then he went on to say, if you don't get vaccinated, if the numbers peak back up, we may have to do another lockdown by 4th of July.
Right, and he's looking at what's going on in Europe, and Europe has clearly gone into. But you know what? Nobody asked Dr. Fauci recently.
What?
Every time, just think about this. Every time we stick a needle in somebody's arm and give them the vaccine, theoretically, it's one less person who can get the illness and die. So if we put out 3 million vaccines on Sunday, which is what they were talking about, 3 million vaccines on Sunday, vaccinations, that's 3 million people that are 95% chance are not going to get the infection and die. And even if they got it, the number of deaths would be relatively small. Mm-hmm. So if we're still doing 50 to 60,000 new cases a day, and we're doing 3 million vaccinations a day, we're shrinking the available universe of people who can get infected by this virus dramatically. And so Texas, who we talked about yesterday, was acting irresponsible. Since they've gone wide open, have actually seen the number of cases decline.
Wow.
So amazing. Who the hell do you believe?
Well, you don't believe Fauci. I mean, Fauci was wrong on swine flu. He was wrong on the African flu. He was wrong on every flu that's come out. Fauci has been 180 degrees wrong on. So how could you believe this guy? That's what I don't get. That's what I don't get about the Trump people. They're stupid. See, if I was on TV, I would say, look, Fauci is a fraud. This is his track record. How can this guy be taken serious? Why is he the highest paid federal employee on the payroll? He's always wrong. Mm-hmm. Fire his ass.
Yep. And he's been there a long time.
30 years.
He's the highest paid.
I think I just said employee. That. Yeah, I think I just said that. Yeah.
Right. And yet nobody's fired him. And no matter how many times he's been wrong, I mean, the CDC has got this country tied in knots because it's clear they have no idea what they're talking about. I mean, they're telling people 2 weeks ago, okay, if you've had your shot, it's been 2 weeks, you can go visit your children and grandchildren, and you don't have to worry about wearing a mask. Then 2 weeks later, if you want to get on an airplane, you've got to have a test, even though you've had the vaccination, and it's been 2 weeks since you've had the vaccination. You still have to get a COVID-19 test 3 days before you depart, and then if you go wherever you go, you have to wear a mask and practice. Safe distancing.
Okay. So what is the? I have no idea what the routine is. How do you prove you had the test? So Fauci wants to give everybody passports, vaccine passports. Man, this is turning into a this is worse than a communist state. This is worse than 1994. These people have lost their damn minds.
Mm-hmm. Well,
why do I have to produce an ID to tell people where I'm going and where I fly to? That all started with the Patriot Act. All that shit needs to stop. It all needs to stop. The Patriot Act needs to be revoked. We know who people are who come to this country who are criminals. The FBI has let criminals come into this country. They let the Russian mob come into this country. They know who the Russian mob are. And so why would they allow them in the country? Somebody's getting paid, man. I'm sorry. Why would you let the Russian mob come into your country? We know who these people are.
Mm-hmm. You're right. And what you're looking at, in my opinion, you're looking at the power of the deep state. That's the power of the deep state. Well, that they have control of our country.
Yeah, and
they're not elected. They've taken over power.
Well, I tell you, we need to take it back, and we need to take it back soon, and that's why Nancy Pelosi and the rest of those hacks want to keep there are more U.S. troops in the U.S. Capitol than are in Afghanistan right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. And so the real issue is, Charles, is how do we take it back? I think that the only way we take it back is with the Article Convention of the States. I
don't know.
We throw everybody out.
Well,
all the other things we've tried didn't work.
Well, when they co-opt your elections, when they steal your elections and then try to get you to say, well, nothing really happened. No, the elections were fair, and they were fair and open elections. That's bull. We all know that's bull. There's no way that Joe Biden won Pennsylvania. There's no way that Joe Biden won Michigan. There's no way that Joe Biden won Wisconsin. No statistical way.
Mm-hmm.
And do you notice he hasn't? Do you notice he has not commented on that ever?
Mm-hmm.
He's never commented on the election. Never commented on the election.
And if you understand HR1, all the proof you need to show that all the things that they were doing were illegal are to be made legal under the HR1 on election.
Harvesting ballots, no voter ID. We're trying to make it harder for blacks to vote. Blacks don't need your damn help. We don't need your help. What we need you to do is to get the Black Panther Party, who are out threatening people who didn't vote for Obama, to leave people alone. That's what we need to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, hey, look, man, I got to run.
Yes, sir. Okay.
We're over. And hey, thanks, folks, for sticking around out there and watching the show. So we'll be seeing you, and we'll be back tomorrow with Frank Venucio. Thanks,
you,
man. Appreciate you.